Hi everyone, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small, and today we're doing another kind of video podcast, if you will. You really don't need to watch the video. I'm just going to have some random miniature photos for you guys to look at if you want, or turn this on while you're painting or doing whatever. But I thought I would give you guys a follow-up on the channel since our last kind of sit and chat. So I appreciate everyone who watched that video, and especially those that left comments. I always enjoy the comments that we get, and it seems like we get more and more, all the time. So in this episode, I thought I would respond to those comments, ask you guys for more comments, and then just talk about a few other random miniature wargaming related topics. So first, let's go to the comments for that video that I posted 2 weeks ago. And let's see, Corey says, thanks for your content. Love your Flames of War stuff. Well, thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. Jake and I love making Flames of War content. We always have a good time playing. And we're looking forward to COVID restrictions being lifted and some more of the AMGAS regulars getting in and playing some more Flames of War also. MR exclamation point. Thank you for your content, especially your Flames of War unboxing, and the battle reports are really fantastic. Appreciate that as well. Thanks for the comment on the unboxing. I like doing the unboxings. I know it doesn't get a ton of views, but I'm sure for some people it is really helpful. And I say that because I'm one of those people. Whenever I'm thinking about getting into a game, I typically do a lot of YouTube research. I don't know about you guys, but I go and I watch the unboxings. I look at some of the miniatures painted. If there's a how to play video, I look at that. I check out the Board Game Geek rating and comments as well. So there's a lot to it. So I know that those videos can be helpful for a certain group of people, and that's why I produce them, because I'm that person, and I enjoy so I enjoy showing that stuff. All right, let's see. Woof132, for what it's worth, I think your channel produces the best battle reports by far. Thank you very much. I think you show just the right balance of the big picture moves on the board while also showing key dice rolls and small minutia details. Well, I appreciate those comments. We do try to show a battle report, all the important parts of a battle report, and keep it under 2 hours. Ideally an hour to an hour 30. An hour 30 would be pushing it, is what I aim for in editing. And I think that can help new players to see those. For a while we thought about showing all the moves, but that just adds so much time, and it really doesn't, I think, give that much more to the battle report, as long as we're clear about these guys were here and they moved there. Sometimes in our battle reports we do show the rolls for things like movement orders or cross checks, but typically we only show those if they are crucial or critical or important. Like turn 1 or 2, when you're positioning your forces, it's really not that big a deal to show it. You can just say, what happened, and usually that's good enough. But we also realize that as new players, someone to version 4, it can be helpful to know, how that process works as far as movement orders in Flames of War. Should I blitz? Should I do a cross here order? And things like that, and how that can impact the game. Movement orders are huge because they are such a risk-reward mechanic in Flames of War currently that it's hard to know exactly when to do it. And obviously if you pass the die, you've always made the right decision, but sometimes it's just not worth it. And I think you'll see that a lot, particularly when Jake is playing his Germans, and how little he tries to do, take advantage of the Stormtrooper rule, where you can do 2 movement orders, a blitz and I think a shoot and scoot, or something along those lines. And that's even on a 3+, it's hard to pass 2 movement orders in one turn. Okay, let's go to Philip Hale. Thanks for the update. Pleased Team Yankee may be getting a look in Keep the Fog of War content coming. Happy to watch more. Best of luck in the future. Thanks, Philip. I do want to get more into Team Yankee. The problem is not all of the guys who like Flames of War got into Team Yankee. A few years back, we had a Team Yankee version of Shifting Sands. That was the theme, was Team Yankee, and it was pretty well attended. But I know a lot of the guys just kind of built an army specifically for that, a lot of the AMGAS guys, and then never really kept up with it. So I think Jake used my Soviet army, and I just built something hodgepodge to practice against. Jacob D, who plays, the other Jacob, built an army, and I think he sold it. I don't think he even has it anymore. Mark, who you've seen play on the channel several times, he's a big Team Yankee enthusiast, and I'd love to play with him, but he's hard to especially during these times. I don't know when I'll be able to see him face to face to get Team Yankee on the table. Plus, he's on a big 40k kick right now, which a lot of the guys are. Let's see. Next up, we have Medneo007. Happy to see the channel growing and continuing to get better in all respects. Best wishes on your Jake's schooling and career. Sorry to hear about the job. I'm happy to be a patron. Don't mean to capitalize your channel, but you can always create multiple channel levels in Patreon, one for Team Yankee content, another for Warhammer, and keep your Flames of War one. Then have a discount bundle. And he has more suggestions. So that's that's what we thought about doing the Patreon. Eventually having different levels, but it was important that I could follow up on any commitment I made, and starting out with saying, all right, Patreon is going to be one Flames of War battle report a month, and that's that's what you get for your Patreon. We thought it was good because it seemed realistic. Really, we only have 4 weeks, 4 days out of the month, once a week, where we can actually film the battle reports. So we have very few windows where we can get battle reports in, and that's assuming our windows are open at the same time. But yeah, I would like to have Team Yankee content, Warhammer content, eventually move to Patreon as well. But before that happens, you're going to see regular YouTube Team Yankee content, regular Warhammer content on the channel, so that those folks that are interested can kind of get an idea of what we're offering. I was on the fence for Patreon for a long time for Flames of War, but I realized we were being very consistent with our Flames of War releases and coverage, and popularity was rising, and we thought that was a good match. I would like to see more games added, but that's in the future, and it's a great idea, so thanks for that. Let's see, Wardrobe, sorry about the job. I was furloughed for 4 months and was fortunate to get back. Good luck. Thank you, and sorry to hear that you were furloughed, but glad you're back at work. Let's see, Kevin just joined your Patreon. Look forward to all Flames of War. Love the battle reports, but I'm interested in other things you do too. The Boom and Zoom looks very interesting as well. Keep the great content coming. Thank you. That's good to hear. Thanks for joining Patreon and supporting us. Thanks for mentioning the other stuff that we do. That keeps us going too. I love Flames of War. That's probably my favorite game system to play, because I think it's a perfect match of miniatures and the rule set. So I appreciate Flames of War, but like anybody, people get burned out, and if I just did Flames of War all the time, I would lose the passion for it. So having these other games that I can do and play and kind of escape to, or just pick up once a year or twice a year and play, is fun for me, and I think that that can be true for a lot of people out there. Boom and Zoom. I know several people have been asking about Boom and Zoom. I'm still in the rules writing phase, and honestly, the Soviet release of Bagration for Flames of War really slowed me down because I had to build. I guess I didn't have to, but I built at least 3 separate armies for the Soviets. No, not IS-2s. The heavy self-propelled artillery, the medium self-propelled artillery, and enough T-34s to make a hero T-34 battalion as well. I still have more Soviets to paint, but I am getting the itch to revisit Boom and Zoom and spend more time on it. I have an idea of what I want to film next as far as showing you guys more mechanics, but I need some Army Air Corps miniatures painted up. I'm thinking of trying out and playtesting. Well, for Boom and Zoom, for those who don't know, I guess I should back up, is basically a game that I am working on that's more of a strategic level air combat game, primarily focused in the Pacific. And so instead of something like individual fighters, like you might see in Blood Red Skies or something like that, we're playing with squadrons or elements. So a lot of the combat is abstracted, but you're still putting, 6, 12, 18 planes up against each other, and an easy way to resolve that. So the scope of Boom and Zoom, in my original thoughts and what I started with, is a carrier engagement. So when you think of something like the Coral Sea Battle or Midway, because I think those 1942 carrier battles are the most interesting. You had dozens, if not more, planes attacking a fleet or an island or a base or what have you, and that's how it was decided. Does your cap go after the torpedo bombers? Do they go after the dive bombers? Making those kind of decisions, but then also being able to drill down and say, well, this particular element has an ace in it, and it's going to perform better. So with that said, what the next thing I'm doing is, with carrier battles, they're, both sides are elite. If you're a naval aviator on a carrier, you're the best of the best. So both the Americans and Japanese and that kind of playtesting are pretty equal. But I wanted to try a more unequal battle. So the elite Japanese, so something like in New Guinea, all of the Australian battles initially, where the Japanese just kind of ran roughshod over the Allies there, and P-40s and P-39s really were struggling against the Zeros and Oscars. So I was wanting to do something along those lines to show off a superior skilled force with a superior plane, the Zero versus a P-39 or P-40, and see how that plays in the game and see if it breaks or not. Can you have fun playing lower quality, poor performance aircraft? Because it's all about the mission. Can you defend a base or can you sink a ship or whatever? All right, sorry. So I got kind of sidetracked with Boom and Zoom, but yes, I do plan on having more Boom and Zoom content soon. So I also pulled just a couple of random comments from other videos. I posted a couple of videos with the new Warhammer 40k Space Marine stuff, particularly the ATV Invader, which is the little Mario Kart looking thing. And let's see, an Agent Boy says, I don't really like the ATVs at all, but your paint job is superb. Nice. Thanks, I appreciate it. I am proud of my Ultramarines. I think they turned out well. Blue is the one color I think I can paint the best, so I like that. I particularly like doing it after I've been painting green or olive drab for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then being able to actually paint something that's colorful is a lot of fun. The ATV, yeah, I thought it looked a little derpy initially when I first saw it. Once I started building it and had it in my hands, I don't think, or I think better of it. Um, I don't think it's terrible anymore. I mean, it looks like a little mini Batmobile. Um, but it's funny they call it an ATV, but this thing has really low ground clearance for the body. I could see it not being a good ATV. Um, but there you go. So that I appreciate that comment. Um, I also posted a video about an old board game called Carrier Strike, which was one of the things that got me excited about World War II Pacific air combat. When that came out in 1977, the Midway movie, the 1977 version, was out. My dad was actually an author who wrote several history books, and one of the books had a chapter on the Battle of Midway, and I remember him writing that and researching it, and that had an impact on me as well. So I've had good memories on that. That Carrier Strike was a good memory game, and like I mentioned in the video, I had my kids play it, and they seem to like it quite a bit. Let's see. Yeah, I got a lot of comments that was their first one. Scrap 007, this is my friend, he says, my first gateway game was Hero Quest and Battle Masters board games. Those started down the path to things like Magic the Gathering and Battletech, and a slight bit of curiosity into Warhammer way back then. Years later, someone dragged me into 40K, which led into some Flames of War, and now into some Age of Sigmar. It's interesting where miniature gaming can take you in life, and the friendships you can make along the way, and the places you can venture out to with it. Thanks, John, for getting me into 40K, Flames of War, and Age of Sigmar. Well, thanks. That's my friend James, who you may have seen on the channel. He lives on the other side of the country, but he does come and visit usually once a year, or we see him on business trips. Like I'll go on a business trip near that part of the country, and we'll get together, and in the hotel room, I think last time we did it last year, we played Aeronautica Imperialis in the hotel room, because that's an easy game to pack up. And he came out with me and my wife when we visited Canada to go to mini wargaming. He didn't get a game in, but he came along, and we all to check that out. Yeah, it's interesting, the gateway games that we remember. Hero Quest and Battle Masters were pretty cool. Those were Games Workshop, I think, Milton Bradley collaborations. And Battletech's an interesting one. I know several people that love Battletech, and I know James is one of them. And I have such a hard time with Battletech because I had the original Battletech box that way back in the day, and I think it was in the 80s, where it wasn't called Battletech, it was called Battle Droids. And it had a couple of almost like multi-pose or higher quality Japanese mechs in it. And I forget which anime it's from. Might have been Crusher Joe or whatever, but they looked really cool. And obviously the BattleTech guys, I don't want to use the word stole, but the BattleTech guys back then used without permission, or the permission was kind of warped. They used a lot of anime designs. Robotech Macross particularly was used as an inspiration. And it had a lot of cool mech designs. That was almost like a gateway into anime. Because I think that came out before Robotech hit and was really big. But my timing could be off. But they had some really cool robots. And then they got, they had got into trouble with that and had to get rid of them. And they called them the unseen mechs because they couldn't show them anymore. And then they came out with them. And I was just never... The newer designs just never captured my imagination like the original ones did. And if you follow my channel, you know I'm a rule of cool. I just like the way things look. And the aesthetic of a thing can get me into a game. Like the aesthetics of Drop Zone Commander got me into Drop Zone Commander. And the new versions of the mechs are just so blocky, and I don't know. It's just not me. Some of the clan mechs, I guess, are cool, but again, that's always a personal opinion. And James is one of those guys who loves BattleTech, and I do have some of the BattleTech video games that are quite enjoyable. I like the aspect of building your mech and adding your weapons, and that's a really cool aspect. Then, that game was fairly complicated. Although me being a little bit older, one of the monster games that I played, which wasn't a miniature game at the time, was Starfleet Battles, which is like squad leader level complicated. And I played that for a long time because I love the Star Trek ships and all that cool stuff. I love spaceships. And I've collected the miniatures. I've got the miniatures now. There's several versions or different games that take place in that Starfleet Battles universe, which is different from the normal Star Trek universe or the J.J. Abrams Star Trek universe. But all of those gateway games kind of led to where we are now. And now that I'm older, have a family, I can't play a BattleTech game or a Starfleet Battles game that takes 2 days to finish, or a whole day to finish. And that's why some of these games like Flames of War and Warhammer have come in and offered a way to do a 2 or 3 hour game where you get your results. And with Flames of War, a lot of, I'll use that as an example, a lot of the combat is abstract. It's all kind of smashed into a D6 gaming system, but it does give you fairly realistic results. And tactics work. I mean, it's not super detailed or high fidelity like that, like Squad Leader, but it gives you a result that is plausible and fun at the time. All right. Let's see. Someone else is asking me about Boom and Zoom Pacific. Trisha, yes, I will be doing that. And just one more. Someone had asked me, I don't have French, but I have early war Germans. Oh, that's an early war battle report. We do have some older early war battle reports on the channel that I think we played in version 4. I'm sure there's some version 3 ones as well. In Flames of War, I'm typically an American player. That's what I collected first. But when early war came out, I got heavily into the French. I have a lot of French miniatures. And I really liked the French aesthetic and the camo and everything about the French in early war. So I have that, but that's one of those things that I'm probably not going to revisit it until Battlefront gets back around to to early war. I'm probably not going to do the 3rd edition conversions. All right, well, I've got a couple more minutes. I'm trying to keep this to 30 minutes. So I wanted to not just answer questions, but also talk about a few other things. I did notice on a couple of the Flames of War groups that are out there, a division between version 3 and version 4 players of Flames of War. So I thought I would just share my thoughts on that. I know when version 4 came out, it split like a lot of local players down the middle. Some people liked it, some people were outraged. I had always thought that version 3 of Flames of War was one of the best rule sets I had read. It was a polished version 2, and it was really a great rule set, and still is. And then Team Yankee came out, which added, basically a kind of a different, several different mechanics to the game that were further refined and then added to Flames of War version 4. But I think that along the line, version 4 had a rough release or start. And the first books that came out, those desert books for the British and the Germans, just did not make a lot of existing Flames of War people happy. Now, I was an American player, so I didn't have a pony in that race, but several of our guys, collected British and desert British and desert Germans, and it just felt like they were underserved. Version 3, if you look at a version 3 source book, it's just amazing. They have great history, they have detailed formations for so many different groups. It's really impressive. And then version 4 came out, and the first few books were very, very vanilla. They were just kind of plain. Um, I think a good example of that would be the Sherman. If you guys watch the channel, I like my Shermans. Whereas in version 3, it eventually we got every single version of the Sherman, or most of them. You had the M4A3, M4A1, M4A3E8 or EZ8, M4A3 up armored. It just had all of these different versions, and generically they got away from those designations initially, and it's just a Sherman with these stats. Now, that's good and bad. It's good for new players coming in, but the older players kind of felt left out. So I know there are players, and I know there's people that leave comments that are like, I hate version 4, or, I like version 3 better, and that's the only thing I play. And that's cool. That's everyone's right and prerogative to do that. But I'm pretty much fully on board with version 4 now, particularly with the release of the D-Day books. The the mid-war American book, I think, started to turn the corner. That was a good book. But I think the D-Day books that they've released, the 4 D-Day books, with the additional options that come in the cards, have really turned the corner. So if you haven't checked it out since that initial release, check it out. Check out one of our battle reports. It's still the same game. It's still fun. It's just been further refined. There's going to be things people don't like movement orders. Some people don't like that they added those. Some people did. But that's kind of how the game goes. It's you add something new. I think Battlefront, it's got to be tough for Battlefront, unlike Warhammer 40K, where they own the IP. Battlefront does not own the IP for World War II, and you can buy other companies, Tiger tanks or Shermans, and it's all out there. 3D print them, and it's not infringing on Battlefront's IP to do so. So they're competing against these other companies and homegrown 3D printers, and I'm sure that's tough. So having a new rule set come out is a way to revitalize it. Now, personally, in our area, I've seen Flames of War drop, and I only my main gauge for that was our Shifting Sands tournaments. We went from in the heyday, version 3, we had 40, 50 people show up. The last one, not this year because everything that was going on, but the last one, which, I guess it was this year, it was like February, we had like 10 people show up. And it's really gone down, and it's kind of sad to see. But in some places, though, it's strong too, so it's hard to know what to make. What's interesting is I'll read a lot of things that say version 4 is dead, version 3 is the best, and things like that. But then I look at the version 4 content that I produced and the comments that you guys leave, and overwhelmingly that's positive. So I think that there are some rather loud voices out there that are anti-version 4, that are maybe drowning out the normal group. Of course, what do I know? I don't have access to Battlefront's sales, or sales numbers, so I don't know how they're doing. But there you go. That's just my thought on the version 3, version 4 controversy, if you will. I miss some of the stuff from version 3. some of the choices that they made in version 4 I wish had been different. I still don't like the fact that some formations you only get in the card packs. Why those couldn't have been folded into the book is just head scratching. But even then, and in one of the books, an intelligence briefing, plus the cards, is still cheaper than a Warhammer 40k Codex. So, yeah, be that what it may. That's my thoughts. So there you go, guys. I wanted to keep this to 30 minutes. I do appreciate everything you do. I do appreciate the comments. If you want, go ahead and leave more comments in this video. We can answer next time around. If you want to leave comments for Jake or any of the other guys, just put their name in the comments, and I can make sure that I have them answer or get their answer for you. Also, if you do like our Flames of War content and haven't checked out our Patreon yet, please do. I'll leave a link down in the video description below. And in here on YouTube, we'd always appreciate a like and subscribe, clicking that bell to receive notification when we produce new content. As always, though, thanks for watching, and keep on wargaming.